Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm your host, Amanda Lamb. In today's deep dive conversation with WRAL's hidden history reporter, Heather Leah, we're talking about a very special tree at UNC Chapel Hill. So when you walk through the grassy McCorkle Place on campus, you may not immediately notice this, but an ancient legend is hidden among the historic buildings. Centuries old, the Davie Poplar has stood rooted in this place far longer than the university itself. It watched, literally, as the university grew around it. So over the past 400 years, this antique giant has become a lightning rod for legends. Heather, welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So tell us about the UNC Poplar. Why is this tree so special?
Well, first of all, let me just tell you, I have a fascination for old historic trees. My husband teases me all the time. We'll be driving down the road and I'll be like, look, a tree. Look, a covered bridge.
Because you can look and you know that tree has been there such a long time, right?
Yes. So, I'll see an interesting tree or a covered bridge or an abandoned building or a tunnel. And, a lot of my stories, it's because I'm driving past and something looks interesting. And North Carolina, by the way, has a ton of unusual and historic trees. I've done stories on other ones. To name a few, the Underground Railroad tree, which is another centuries-old tree. And it's a witness tree to freedom seekers who sought refuge in its shade prior to the emancipation in the Civil War. There's a few hidden redwood trees, like West Coast redwoods here in Raleigh and in Wilson. They're huge and you just get chills looking at them. There's a magical dragon tree in the mountains. And there are some trees that are thousands of years old on the NC coast. So there's just a lot of really cool trees. This tree, I was so excited to see it. I saw it for the first time this weekend. I knew it was there, but took some time getting to it. I have lots of other places to explore, but we went this weekend. It is huge. We're walking through McCorkle Place looking for it, hoping I'd recognize it. There's a few other really large old trees, but suddenly you see it, and there's just no mistaking it when you see it. It's massive. It would take probably 3 or 4 people hugging with their arms outstretched to get around the circumference of this really, really thick, huge tree, and it's so tall.
I love that expression, witness. So explain to me what a witness tree is.
Yeah, so a witness tree is a tree that basically has stood witness to history, to a historic event. This tree has been here longer than the campus itself. So this tree, as you mentioned in the beginning, has watched the campus grow. It's been there since the beginning.
And so there's so many legends surrounding this tree.
Yes. So, really, anytime you have something old that's been there a long time, or especially something that's been there as long as any of the local community can remember, as is the case with students at UNC, right? This tree's been there as long as the college has been there, longer. They tend to attract legends. And this tree has multiple legends. So we're going to start with what I think is the oldest legend, and it actually has to do with the history of the college itself and how it was founded. So first of all, I just want to take a moment to appreciate just how old UNC Chapel Hill is. It was established in 1789. That means that the college, that university, is technically older than Raleigh, because Raleigh, our capital, was established in 1792. Now, the community that is currently Raleigh was there, but it was not considered to be Raleigh at the time. So this college is older than some of the surrounding cities. It was also the first public university in the entire country. So this tree was already there when William Davie wrote the act that started UNC. And because that tree was already there, there's a legend that the committee that was tasked with finding a location for UNC was kind of wandering through the woods, right? They would have come from the Hillsborough area, which isn't too far away. But, they would have been probably on horseback or on foot. This area was not, very well settled. There would have been a lot of woods. And so they're just out there kind of in the wilderness trying to determine where to build a university. And they're exhausted, they're hungry, and they knew they wanted it to be near the newly established capital. Raleigh didn't quite exist yet, but they did know that that was going to be the capital. So weary and starving, the committee stopped beneath this delightful tree for lunch. They had a picnic, and sounds like maybe they had a little bit to drink, and they ate, and then they took a nap in the shade of this beautiful tree, which was probably pretty big even at the time. And when they awoke, according to legend, William Davie said, "You know, this should be the spot for the university, around this beautiful tree." And in honor of his decision, the tree was nicknamed the Davie Poplar, a name it still carries to this day.
Okay, so we are going to talk about whether or not that legend is true when we come back. And we're also going to talk about the most romantic legend yet and why so many couples visit this special tree. Welcome back to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm talking with WRAL's Heather Leah about the legends surrounding the Davie Poplar tree. So right before the break, we were talking about the Davie Poplar tree, the Davie Poplar story. Is that a true story?
It is not true. You can see why they would come up with that idea. There's kind of a similar legend around how Raleigh was founded around a tavern called Isaac Hunter's Tavern. That's a whole other story, but these types of legends are somewhat common. This is a very romanticized story, but it's not true. In fact, William Davie wasn't even on that original committee. So it's not likely he trudged through the woods or had a picnic beneath the tree at that time. The committee was actually established in Hillsborough. They voted to build UNC in that area because of the central location. They surveyed various pieces of land for building the university, but a man named James Hogg put together the most generous offer, and it had over 1,000 acres and hundreds of thousands of bricks offered for the buildings. So they actually just chose the location based on the property that this man, James Hogg, offered them.
So good location, obviously. So there's a lot of legends surrounding this tree. Tell me about the one that involves the university crumbling.
Yeah, so again, the tree's been there as long as any of the students can remember, right? So when it's been there such a long time, it's more permanent than even the buildings. And so one of the legends that has come up is that if the tree dies or collapses or falls, the university will fall as well. So that's another legend that they've tried very hard. And this is because of this legend and also love for the tree, that officials have really taken great care to protect and preserve the historic tree. In fact, the tree has a Davie Poplar Jr., and it's over a century old itself.
Oh, wow.
And there are also many, many other Davie Poplar Jr.'s planted throughout the state, all of them for offspring of this tree. So they're trying to make sure this tree is protected, and if not the tree itself, then that it will have some offspring right there on campus. So that, hopefully the tree never falls.
The tree lives on. The tree has a legacy beyond its own roots and branches.
Yes.
So my favorite story, and this is the romantic part of this whole legend, this tree has a love story.
Yes.
Tell me about that. And you actually lived it. So
I did.
I want to hear that.
I
but tell me
lived
the
it.
story and then tell me about your personal experience.
Yes. There are, again, all around the campus, there's all kinds of legends. This is just one of them. But the tree has a beautiful bench beneath it. So when you go to visit the tree, you can see this beautiful bench and there's foliage around it. You can sit down and have a picnic and a good photo opportunity. One of the more recent legends is that if a couple sits on the bench beneath the tree's branches, and if they kiss, they're certain to get married. So obviously, people who are dating on campus will then go sit beneath the tree and kiss, hoping that it will mean that they will be sure to get married. And I will say, my husband and I, we just celebrated our 9th year anniversary. So we went to visit the tree. We brought our dog, and we did have a picnic underneath the tree. Very beautiful, beautiful tree. And we did share a kiss. on the bench.
So that's good luck.
It's good luck. We figured we're already married, so it's just ensuring that we're soulmates and that our marriage continues even longer. And while we were there, I could see dozens of families out there. Some were actually very nearby, taking part in the legends surrounding the old well, which you can see from the tree. And then just down the road, there's another whole legend around Gimgul Castle. So it's a really cool place to go to kind of immerse yourself in these legends and this history.
Absolutely. So if somebody wants to visit the tree, how should they go? Where should they, how should they get to it?
So this was the way we did it. If you know a better way, please feel free to let us know. But this is what I did. We just parked at the planetarium. It's literally like maybe a 5-minute walk from there. So we just parked there and then walked across a couple of quads and grassy areas. There's brick walkways, and it's very lovely walk, lots of art around and things like that to look at. And then you really can't miss the tree when you see it. It's taller and bigger, and it's just in the middle of McCorkle Place.
And does it have a sign or something that identifies it?
There's a sign, and then there's also the bench underneath
the tree. And it's near the well, which is another good landmark.
Yeah.
Well, Heather, as always, thank you so much for sharing this fascinating story. And thank you for listening to the WRAL Daily Download and making us part of your morning routine. If you like what you're hearing, please rate us on Apple Podcasts or on whatever podcast app you use. Another great way to get WRAL news is in the Morning Briefing newsletter. It's a daily email waiting in your inbox every morning with Triangle News events and headlines to get you ready for the day. Sign up at WRAL.com/newsletter.